As we have been discussing over the last couple of days, the Maryland State Senate has been voting on the issue of schools opening after Labor Day or before Labor Day. That would be the option that would be given to all 24 jurisdictions if the bill that was voted on 32-14 yesterday on its second reading, after it came out of committee by a 7-4 vote, it was on the floor today to be voted on to go up against Governor Larry Hogan's executive order, which said that all schools, all 24 jurisdictions, would begin the Tuesday after Labor Day and have a date certain at the end of school. That is somehow rancored many Democrats, school unions, teacher unions, as well as school bureaucracies. Joining us right now is Maryland State Senator Steve Hershey. He has been in the middle of these debates. As a matter of fact, they were just voting, I believe, in the Maryland State Senate. Senator Hershey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, C4. How are you doing today?
Can you update us as to what is going on? I understand amendments were being floated around. The bill was on third reader today, I understand. Please go ahead.
Actually, what had happened yesterday was yesterday the bill was on second reader. We had a pretty vigorous floor debate, lasted about 90 minutes, I heard, and then we offered a series of amendments yesterday. I offered two amendments, one that would actually codify the governor's executive order and mandate that schools must start after Labor Day, obviously just in direct opposition to the bill that was on the floor. Of course, that was voted down on party lines. And then we did another amendment that basically would at least put parameters on the school year. So my amendment said that it would have to start after August 15th and be completed by June 15th. And there was a automatic waiver if the school system had to go past June 15th. Again, went down on party line votes. The last amendment I offered yesterday was a very interesting oversight that Labor Day is not even considered a school holiday. And I believe that's the case because, you know, when these laws were put in place and the school boards were making the schedules, they never even considered starting school after Labor Day. So there was no need to put Labor Day or Independence Day, for that matter, into the list of school holidays. I had special ordered that bill, that amendment last night. So the first thing that we did today was take up that amendment. Again, we had a pretty good debate on that. I just really thought that this was something that was overlooked. But you know how things go down here at C4, and sometimes they're just the party says, "Hey, we're gonna reject everything," and that's what they did to that amendment as well too. So we picked up a couple extra votes, but by and large, that they rejected that amendment. So the second reader, the amendments were finished, and we actually have the bill will be on third reader on a Tuesday morning.
Gotcha. So they didn't actually vote today, but they have it on the calendar for Tuesday to actually be on third reader. Let me ask you this, Senator Steve Hershey, who joins us once again. He is from the 36th District. He represents the Maryland's Upper Eastern Shore. He's also the minority whip in the state Senate. Let me ask you this, Senator Hershey. You know, the debate I've been listening to in terms of why to overturn this from Senator Paul Pinsky and Senator Nancy King. By the way, Paul and I served together in the Senate. But when it comes to their argument that somehow there's a hardship, that school systems are facing some hardship, what is this hardship they're talking about from this calendar?
Yeah, well, see, you're exactly thinking along the lines of the questions that we asked yesterday. You know, what is the hardship? Why is it so difficult that you give a school board some parameters to say, okay, here's when you have to schedule your 180 days in between? And it becomes very difficult for us to understand. I mean, we certainly like local authority. We want to make sure that anytime we have the opportunity to give local counties more authority, we want to do that. But at the same time, the state provides many mandates on school boards in the school system, and to just be able to put a set of parameters around it doesn't seem to be that difficult. You know, I think this really gets down to politics. Before, you know, this is, you know, we just had the Governor Hogan get, you know, the second Republican ever in the history of Maryland to get reelected. Very popular. Two of the probably the most popular things that he's done, and I thank him for the first one is reducing the tolls, and the second one is to do this executive order that would say schools have to start after Labor Day, and we're seeing polling. The governor's coming out and talking
70 to 80% from different polls. The Gonzalez poll, Senator Hershey, the Goucher College poll. Multiple polls show how popular this is with voters, with Marylanders.
That's right. That's right. And that's why we're seeing that this is a political issue. It's designed to go against the great things that Governor Hogan is doing, to go against his popularity. And I think it's going to backfire. The governor stepped up yesterday. He says he's going to put in a bill that tries to bring this to 24 different referendums. Each county will be able to vote on this. And that's what the best idea is. That county citizens can go and they can tell their county school boards whether or not they want to see schools start before or after Labor Day. And the governor's going to bring it to the people. And I think with his popularity, Comptroller Francho, this has been a main issue that he's trying to go forward with.
Do me a favor,
State
Senator Hershey, can you hold on 1 second? Christy McIntyre, joins us from the newsroom. Christy, go ahead, please.
C4, we're getting reports that at Frederick Douglass High School over by Mondawmin, there was a shooting there just recently, getting reports that we don't know a lot, but that one person was shot and one person is in custody, and certainly we'll have updates. But again,
goodness.
It's at Frederick Douglass High School.
Wow. Senator Hershey, we're talking about education issues. Thank you, Christy. From our newsroom, we're talking about a shooting at a public high school. And my goodness. Go ahead, Senator.
So anyways, I'm very sorry to hear that news, and I hope everybody is okay.
Yes.
But I think what the governor is going to do then is take this out to the people, be able to get enough signatures to get this on the referendum, in each of the 24 different jurisdictions, and be able to let the people decide themselves whether or not starting school, after Labor Day is a good idea or not. And again, as you mentioned, the polls are certainly indicating that the people want their families and their children to have a defined summer. And that's what this really gets to be about is, Labor Day has always been that traditional end of summer. And you know what? That's what we have to keep. We talked about whether or not, you mentioned, earlier tonight, was it difficult with the schedulers? And then you hear about, kids not being able to be out of school for so long and not being able to retain what they learned in June and then come back to August. You know what? And I mentioned on the Senate floor, kids learn a lot outside of the classroom as well, too. And they go out and they recreate with kids, and they set up the proverbial lemonade stand, and they do shoe drives, and they do a lot of different things that have them engaging with kids, engaging with other people outside the classroom. And you know what? Sometimes you can learn an awful lot without being in a classroom.
Senator Steve Hershey, you said it. This is nothing but a naked political attempt to undermine the governor. And by the way, Comptroller Francho was the person who really initiated this move. Even before Governor Hogan came in office, he was pushing for school after Labor Day, to begin after Labor, because of the economic impact it would also have on the state. Let me ask you real quick, speaking of economics, while I have you, Senator Hershey, there's a hearing today in reference to the raising of the minimum wage to $15 an hour. We have op-eds being written by the National Federation of Independent Businesses. I've had small business people call me. I don't care if you have from 200 employees to 4 employees. It's going to affect everybody. If you can just speak for a moment to this $15. We just had a 10.10 minimum wage increase July the 1st, and then they're coming back hitting them again. Senator?
That's right. When's it going to end, C4, right? If 10.10 was good enough 3 years ago, and now we're trying to get $15, and what are we going to, in 3 more years, we're going to be looking at $20?
Right.
Actually, what they're doing in this bill, they don't have to worry about that, because they want to tie this minimum wage to the CPI. So after it goes up to $15 by July 1st, in 2013, then it's tied to the CPI, and it goes up incrementally automatically. And, I think these things that, again, you see this push. It's not just in Maryland, but you see this push nationally. And they're driving to what they believe will help the low-wage employee. And unfortunately, the studies are coming back and saying that that's not what's happening.
Hours are reduced. You see a lot of things happening as it relates to young people being able to get jobs. It has a direct impact on all those things, Senator.
It really does. And that's what we're trying to avoid when we say this. It's not that we don't believe that people deserve a fair wage, but at the same time, from our side of the aisle, we say, well, wait a minute, what about all these taxes that are in place? What about rising utility bills? What about all these issues that are going on that affects take-home pay? Why don't we address those issues? I mean, you can make $10 an hour and have reduced taxes and bring home more money than you could if you get $15 an hour, have higher taxes, and end up getting, a little, if any, increase in your salary.
But minimum wage, Senator, minimum wage was never designed to raise a family off of. It's an entry point, not a destination point, Senator.
You're exactly right. And C4, when people come in and they talk about that, they do exactly what's it. Well, I have to work 2 jobs. And my first question always is, how many hours are you working on the first one?
Right.
And rarely ever is that answer 40. Because you know why? That's what's happening. The 10-10 has even done this. The 10-10 an hour has even done the same type of thing. It is increasing the hours that workers are working. Employers are saying, I can only afford so much money in labor costs. And if you make me pay more per hour, I'm going to reduce the hours. And that's what ends up happening, because reducing the hours, you also get to the point where you then don't have to provide health insurance.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that are triggered when you get to that 28, 29 hours. If you could keep employees below that, which they have to do from a financial perspective, then it ends up being that the employee ends up working less. And that's not what we want either.
State Senator Steve Hershey, it is always great to speak with you, sir. Once again, he's a minority whip in the Maryland State Senate, the minority whip there. Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate the time.
All right. Thank you.
Coming up, a discussion with Yeripsy Morgan. Stay here.